Assalamu alaikum wa rahmatullahi wa barakatuh. I know I wrote an article, surprising. Now that I wrote an article, I think everyone just has to write an article. I think it's just basic. Anyways, this article kind of, it's not really just focusing on the Barbie movie, but it really shows how all movies are trying to push agendas on mostly young kids, because that's when the mind is forming and that's when they're very accepting to new thoughts and new ideas. And the main issue with the Barbie movie is that, yeah, it's pushing thoughts on young kids, on specifically young girls. But the other issue is these young girls are usually going to watch the movie with their moms, and their moms are like, "Yeah, go Barbie, whatever," which is even like hardening that thought of like it's okay. It's not even okay. It's good, or you should be a feminist. And these girls are their thoughts are like still developing, and they see that, oh, this movie is telling me to do this. My mom is supporting it. Oh, it must be the only way. And then that's like where the target audience or the intended target audience for the Barbie movie is. It's like mostly like young girls to watch the movie and accept the thoughts, and then their moms there to even like harden that thought and make them think like that's the only way. So it's mostly for like young daughters with their moms going to watch this movie. And although like the Barbie movie isn't like they want everyone to watch it, they want to ruin everyone's thought process. That's like the main audience that is going to be accepting their ideas. And even the problem with that, with like those young kids, there's a bunch of inappropriate jokes, and they say that same inappropriate jokes like four, five, six times. And other than the inappropriate jokes, they're trying to push a lot of like transgender agendas on these young girls. And like this isn't really a movie that should be made for like those young kids, but those like inappropriate jokes or those like transgender ideas are pushed in such a way that's like strategically made where it just goes right over the heads of the parents but sticks with those young kids. And people could say, oh yeah, they didn't mean to make it inappropriate for these young girls or whatever, but it really shows that that's not the thought of like the directors of the Barbie movie. It's really that like they know exactly what they're doing, and those those like jokes or whatever that are flying right above the heads of the parents, and like the way that the movie was made, how it's made for kids. It's just like the front or the Trojan horse for how they want to push the agendas behind the scenes for those young kids. And like an example of like the main issue actually first, the main issue with the Barbie movie is how it's like the role reversal and how the men are inferior and the women are superior. And it doesn't even go to that. It goes even beyond that, where men are useless and they can't do anything, and and women don't need men. And the whole purpose of the movie is like women will only succeed if they live by themselves, and men will only succeed if they live by themselves. And it's kind of just splitting both genders completely apart. And that's very strategic especially from like the directors. And like you can tell, like this is pretty much like funded by Shaitan, and like this is exactly what Shaitan want. Because if men and women already hate each other and they don't want to live together, then there's no marriage, there's no kids, and that's what Shaitan wants at the end of the day. They don't want people to get married so they can follow their desires later on. And um, yeah, so this movie, the whole thing is women are all the way up here and men are useless and they don't matter and they don't mean anything. And it's really shown like a lot. Like in the beginning of the movie, right off the scene, first like 5 minutes, Barbie is like, I don't know, she's in her house with her own career, she's an independent woman, whatever. And like Ken, he's just dependent on her. Like he can't do anything without her. And all the joy Ken gets from pretty much the way the movie is formulated is Barbie, like there's a bunch of Barbies and what pretty much represents the women, and there's a bunch of Kens that pretty much represent the men. So the Kens, pretty much all the joy they get is if Barbie says hi to them, which really like shows like it really like demasculates the man, and it shows like, oh, he's not a man at that point. And the movie then goes on to like, oh, Barbie is has this perfect life that's same over and over and over again. And she wakes up, she does the same routine, the perfect life. She doesn't need anyone in her life except she doesn't need any man in her life specifically. And that life keeps going on and on and on until one day she starts malfunctioning, I guess. And her malfunctioning is pretty much her thinking of death and thinking of like suicide. And again, this is for young daughters mostly and young kids. So they're trying to push these thoughts onto them from that young of an age. So, the Barbie, she doesn't know why she's thinking of these thoughts. She starts malfunctioning. I don't know, her high heels becomes like flats or whatever, or her skin starts getting random marks or whatever. So then again, this is another place where transgender agendas are being pushed. She goes to this one lesbian Barbie. They call her Weird Barbie, and she's like the all-knowing Barbie that knows everything about like the real world and the Barbie world. And pretty much she tells Barbie, like the weird Barbie tells Barbie, like, oh, the reason why you're thinking of these bad thoughts or whatever is because the person or your owner in the real world is playing with you too hard. Which I don't know where that plot comes from. It seems dumb to me, but I guess that's the plot. And then Barbie goes to the real world. And obviously, when she goes into the real world, there's some stuff she has to do, like, I don't know, bike, whatever. And she's doing it with ease or whatever, and Ken is just struggling. And even before that, Ken asks her, oh, can I come and help? She's like, no, 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 you'll just be a burden on me or whatever. So that right here is even more where they, like, emasculate the men and show, like, oh, men are useless and they don't matter. And, like, the whole issue with that is, like, their whole issue is women women need to lead and not be led, which I don't know why. And even though like the way like women were designed were to like raise kids and like look over the household, and men were raised to like pretty much be responsible for making the money for the family, protect and feed and all that, all these things for the family is responsible for the men. And they really want to like do like some type of like role reversal of like the men and the women, and even go beyond that. And even like it's shown, like they go to the real world is some like patriarchal system where the men are like lead everything and the women are just pretty much the opposite of Barbie world. And um, and pretty much like why like the Barbie world system wouldn't work is because women as leaders is they weren't designed to be leaders. They were mostly like because the main issue is women have this emotional aspect to them, and it's just so random. And a household can't be led by emotions. It has to be led by logic and common sense. And you have to follow exactly what Allah has told us. And this is that men were designed to be leaders, women weren't. And even like the whole idea of like patriarchy, it's like it's in the end it's mostly designed to protect women, to be honest. Like I don't understand really why, but like as a woman, do you really want to go to a work and like the boss yells at you, the boss tells you go do this, go clean that, and I feel like that type of role was like reserved for men. Men are the ones that like need to take the harsh yelling from their bosses. Men are the ones that need to like clean the floors, make the money, do whatever they can to make that money, and come home and spend it on the wife. The wife doesn't have to work at all, is how it's supposed to be. And even like the wife working, that's just that like lowers their dignity. They instead of like them staying at home, kind of like a princess at home, not having to do anything except like take care of the house, and they're protected and hidden from everyone, and that just kind of like elevates the self-worth of women by a lot and elevates their dignity. At the end of the day, in order to have that self-worth and dignity as a woman, you shouldn't have to worry about shelter. You shouldn't have to worry about security. You shouldn't have to worry about financial or having money. That should all be provided for a woman. This is like the man's job to worry about that and like have to be able to provide that. And it does get stressful, and that shouldn't be another stress that should be added to a woman, especially when she's already responsible for taking care of the children and raising a whole new generation. when a woman's raising a whole new generation, she has to have all that provided to her so she can effectively raise the new generation. So when a woman just say, okay, no, we want to go and build a whole career, that's pretty much destroying the new generation. Like when you throw a kid into a daycare, now they're raised into like the values of the daycare, not the values of the parents. Oh, the daycare might even do stuff like, oh yeah, you guys are bored, let's watch the Barbie movie. Let's inject more thoughts into your mind that make no sense. So that should be provided so the woman is able to stay at home all day and be able to take care of the children and even be able to take care of her husband. And like that is like obviously a very hard job, and having to take on both jobs is something that one should not have to do and shouldn't be able to do, especially when men in the patriarchal system in general have like it is like a lot of stress, and it's a lot of responsibility. It's a lot of stress because you don't know like, oh, if you're gonna get laid off, if you need your next raise, oh, am I gonna make enough money for the family? And if I laid off, what am I gonna do? Or what if the boss doesn't like what my performance? What's he gonna do? So yeah, that shouldn't be something that should be carried by a woman. And at the end of the day, when men and women know what their roles are, the woman knows, okay, I'm in charge of raising the kids and making cleaning the house and taking care of my husband. And the man knows, oh, okay, I'm responsible for bringing all the income and taking care of all the shelter, all the like pretty much protect the whole family. Then it kind of builds like a mutual like love for each other. And you know, okay, yeah, my wife's taking care of me and my children, and your wife knows, okay, yeah, my husband's taking care of me and my children. So it kind of builds a love for each other already, other than like, oh yeah, if my if my husband doesn't love me, it's fine. I have my own career. I don't have to worry about him. Oh, my husband is just some like useless person. Even in the Barbie movie, there was another time where like it shows that it's like they were like the mom and the daughter were going on an adventure, and the daughter tells her mom, it's like, "Oh, what about dad?" And they both just like kind of like dismiss him, like, "Oh, he'll be fine." And then it cuts to a scene of the dad just on a couch, slouched, and stuffing his face with food. And when you like have the daughter think, when the mom thinks of the dad as that, and she tells her daughter to think of the dad as that, it just first of all builds a disrespect between the daughter and the father, and it just has the daughter thinking of like, oh yeah, my dad can't do anything. I have to just go to my mom for everything. That's the first issue with that. The second issue is that it like within like the heart of the woman herself, like the mom, she'll feel a kind of like she won't feel that same love for the dad because it's kind of like it's not more like, oh, he's providing for me from the mom. Like the mom doesn't think of the dad as, oh, he's my provider, he's my protector. No, she thinks of him like, oh, he's just some guy there and I can protect and provide for myself. And at the same side, the father would think of like he wouldn't think of the mom as like, oh, she's gonna she's gonna help me raise my or she's gonna raise my kids for me and help me like pretty much help me like raise the house, or like she's not like I'm not gonna come home to a nice clean house. I'm gonna have to also take care of the kids. Oh, it's a 50-50 responsibility upon over like my already existing job. And honestly, that's why Allah created the system for us. No one can really take on both responsibilities, and it makes no sense that someone has to take on both responsibilities. That's why there's the two people. There's like the man to take care of like providing and protecting, and the woman to take care of the house and the new generation. And having like to take on like the way like the American system works, or I guess the way Barbie wants it, it's like, oh, we just live as women by ourselves, and we won't have to even raise kids, and we don't need men, and that's just not a sustainable system. So yeah, I guess like the way the Barbie movie was constructed, it's just like the complete opposite of like what we were taught by the Quran and Sunnah, and how like it pretty much the whole purpose of the Barbie movie is like for men and women to live completely separate. Not even for women to be like to be better than men. No, the Barbie movie takes it to a complete other extreme where men and women need to like live completely separate apart. And it's not like this type of message, they're not even saying it like unexplicitly. No, they're saying it explicitly in the movie at the end when like after like so the whole issue is like, oh, the plot is like Ken came, took over Barbie and the Barbie world, and then Barbie took it back from him, which is like the simplified version. And then when Barbie takes it back from him, Ken just starts crying to Barbie. He's like, "Oh, what am I gonna do now? It's supposed to be Barbie and Ken, or Ken and Barbie, or whatever it is." And then Barbie literally tells him, "We have to learn to live separately." And it's just said explicitly like that, like we don't need each other. So it's just trying to split the two people apart, so the desires can elevate, and so there's not a new generation. And yeah, this Barbie movie is honestly a disaster. Uh, Nothing else is really coming to my mind right now, but I know there's a lot more that went wrong with the movie, and I'm sure the article has a lot more in detailed stuff. So yeah, just read the article and you'll really understand the dangers of the Barbie movie and why no one should watch the Barbie movie. Or actually, like some people should watch the Barbie movie, especially like Shuyu and scholars and community leaders, because they need to like really like tell the parents and the kids how dangerous the Barbie movie is. But for the most part, everyone should be very aware of the Barbie movie and should not watch it and should really like understand in general how much propaganda is really being pushed in the media and how much it really does shape a kid, especially a kid's mind, how much it really shapes it and how much control it has. Because the media at this point controls everything. So no one should really watch the Barbie movie and everyone should stay away from it. And yeah, so